Hey you animals, welcome back. I have another easy FPS editor tutorial for you guys. Today we'll talk about FSM, or Finite State Machine. This basically allows you to change how many sprites an entity has and how fast the frames will switch from one another. And this works with decorations, weapons, and enemies. So I've only tried it with these enemies so far. It just lets you add more frames to your animations to make it look smoother and better. But before we get into that, I just want to thank all my new subscribers. I hit 400 yesterday, so I'm basically famous now. So thanks for that. And I did post a video yesterday testing out my enemy animations using this technique. And I'll leave the link for this wiki in my description as well. Everything you need to know is here with examples and stuff. Today we'll just be focusing on FSM for enemies. So the first thing you'll need is a text editing program. I recommend Notepad++. It is free to download and it looks like this. And then once you have that ready, you'll just need some enemy sprites. And you can use as many as you like, 100, 200, up to you. And I have this one ready, this cute little fella. Look at him. Isn't he sweet? Look at those teeth. So we'll be using this monster today. His name's Monster 3. And then instead of adding your enemy here like you normally would, we go out of here, minimize this, and then we go to your Easy FPS editor main folder, wherever it's installed on your PC. Then you go to Projects, look for your project that you're currently working on. Mine's FSM2. This is like my testing playground. Then you go to Sprites, Enemies, and then you add the sprites you want to use in this folder here. As you can see, I've added quite a few already. Now I'm going to take my cute creature, copy all of this, and then paste it in your enemies folder. Cool, so once it's in your folder, open up Notepad++, and then you can go here for examples. If you go to this wiki, click on the side here for FSM, and then right at the bottom here, they do have examples for weapon and for enemies. So you could just copy all of this and then paste it in here. But for now, I'll just do it from scratch. So I have a new text file here. I'm just going to open one of my other ones for reference. So this is for one of my other creatures. And it's pretty hard to explain. Well, I find it hard to explain, so I'll just show you how it works. So you go to your new one, and the first line will be image, space, and then whatever your creature is named. In this case, mine is Monster 3 with a little underscore, and then they're all numbered from 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 69. So then you say image, so it will go and look for the image that you name now in your folder. So mine is Monster 3 underscore. Now it knows to look for this image, and then press space again, 0, space again, and then how many frames you have. In my case, it's 69. So it'll read image Monster 3 space from 0 space until 69. And that's your first line done. Then press enter, enter again, leave a space there in between it, and then we start with state. And as you can see here, it's all listed in the wiki. These are all the different states that the enemy can have. So there's idle, see, chase, attack, and so on. So go back to your text file, and then we'll start with our first state. So you type state, space, idle, space again, none, space again, 0. I'm not sure what the 0 means in this case, but I just know that there's a 0 after every state. So we're going to define the idle state going into none. So this is just the idle state. And then you choose all the frames that you're going to use for this idle animation. So we're going from idle into none, space. And also, make sure there are no spaces at the end like this. Make sure it's always closed off like that. Same here, and same here. It literally won't work if you have spaces unnecessarily, so make sure there's no spaces there. So we're going to do the idle state now. The first thing you do is type frame, and then space. It'll be, let's take a look, So this is how I do it. Open up your enemy images, and then we can just see now which is the idle state, or which are the idle frames, I mean. So for this enemy, it's from 0 until 4. So 0 to 4 is the idle state. So we could do it like this, because frame 0, frame 1, frame 2, but I learned the other day, there's an easier way. Just type frame set, and then you can define how many frames will be in this animation. So frame set 0 until 4. So now it will read from 0 until 4. It'll only read those many frames, and then you press space. After each frame, you must define the speed of the frame, and then these 3 zeros are the, I think it's the X and Y and Z offset, which isn't important for enemies since we adjust that manually. So you can usually just leave them as 0. And then the last thing you do is none. And then you always finish the last frame with ready, so that it'll be ready for the next animation. So now we're doing the idle state. The frame sets from image 0 until 4, then space, and then we do the speed. I usually go for like 0.2, and then space again, 3 zeros, each with spaces in between them, and then we end it off with none. Then we have to end off with the last frame with ready at the end of the line. So it's ready to move from this frame or this state until the next state. So what we'll do is type frame, since we just want one frame here, which will be the last one, 4. Then the speed again, the offset, and then we type ready. And because we have this frame here, we can actually just change it from 0 to 3 in this one. So for these frames, it'll be none. But then for the final frame, it'll be ready. And then press enter twice. And then you're ready to move on to your next state. So the next state we'll do is C into chase. So once the enemy sees you, he'll go into chase. And then chase will define after this one. So we start again with state, C, space, chase, 0. And now we're going to define the C images. So let's go look. I think it'll be this one from 5 until 17. So frame set 5, space 17, and then the speed of it. I'm going to go for 0.1 here, just so it's nice and fast. And then space 0, 0, 0, none. Then I'll just check back here. Then same as before, we have to make sure the last frame is ready. So let's do that. Frame 17, 0.1, and ready. Then again, we can just go and change this one back to 16. And space, space. And as you can see, when you're defining the states, make sure they're all capitals. And then the rest will stay small, lowercase. Only the states like C and chase and idle and the nuns and readies will be all capital. So we have our idle and our C frames or states ready now. So then we're going to do state chase into none, 0. Cool. So now we must define the chase frames, which will be walking or running. There we go. So this will be from frame 55 until 69. So frame set 55, 69. Then we choose the speed, the offset, and none. So because we have chase here into none, we are just defining the chase animations or the chase frames right now. So we end the last one with the last frame, 69, the speed, offset, and ready for the next one. So I'll just change this back to 68. So those frames will be none, and then the last frame will be ready. And that's chase done. So next we'll do attack back into chase. So the enemy will attack you and then go back to chasing you. Let's do that one next. State, attack, chase, 0. Now we go look for his attack frames. yeah, I think it's from here. So from 18 until 30. 18 to 30. Frame set 18 into 30. I know I should just make it 29. And then the speed, offset, none. And frame 30 will be the last one. Speed, offset, ready. But now this one is a bit different. I'll show you why now. So if you look here, we have none, but then we also have attack. So you must define which frame causes damage to your player. So in this case, frame 65 will be the attack frame, and that's the frame where you'll take damage at. So we need to define that now. So let's go back and see where the moment of impact will be. I think there, frame 24. So this will be from 18 to 23 will be none, but then frame 24, speed, offset, and then we name this one attack. And that's the frame we'll take damage at. So you see there's space from 24 till 30, so we'll have to define the rest of the frames now. So it'll be frame set 25 until 29. Speed again, offset, none. There we go, and I think this should work. We'll test it just now. So he'll go from attack into chasing you. From frames 18 to 23, nothing happens. At frame 24, the attack happens. And then from frame 25 to 29, nothing happens. And then the last frame 30 will be ready for the next state. So then space, space. The next state will be hurt into chase. So once he gets hurt, you can either make him hurt and then chase, or hurt and then flee. But I haven't tried that yet. So once you hurt him, he'll go back to chasing you. And then let's go see where the hurt frames will be. Yeah, I think it's that one. So from frame 48 till 54. Frame set 48 to 54. The speed, you know by now. And then for this one, I don't know why, but we don't have to say ready at the end of hurt for some reason. You can see here, you just do the frame sets and it'll be none for hurt and chase, and for death and dead, and for dead and none, 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 none. So we only add ready for the attack, chase, and see, and idle for some reason. So we have the hurt into chase frames is 48 to 54. So then after frame 54, he'll go back into chase, which is defined here. Cool, so that one is done now as well. And then the last two states will be death and dead. So it'll be from frame 31 until 47. Frame set 31, 47, and the speed. I basically just make everything 0.1. It's nice and fast, but not too fast. This will also be none. And then the last one will be dead and none, because he's a corpse now, so not much will be happening. And this will just be the last frame, which is 47. So it'll be this one. That'll be his corpse frame then. So for this one, we can just say frame 47. And the speed doesn't really matter, so I just leave it at 1. 0, 0, 0, and none. And that is done. It's finished. Now we have the FSM ready for this monster creature. So what you can do now is make sure there are no spaces at the end of your lines, otherwise it won't work. When you go to preview, if it doesn't work, then just check there's no spaces. That was the mistake I made. See, like there, this would have been an issue. So make sure there's no spaces at the end of your lines. And now we're ready. So then the next step will be save as. and then you got to save it in your states folder. So if you go back to where Easy FPS Editor is installed, go back to projects, your project name, then go down to states over here, and there's all my other monsters and creatures. And then you have to name this the same as your image here, so it has to be the same. So it'll be monster 3 underscore, and then most important, you add dot states, and it will save as a states file. The cool thing is you can just minimize this and test it straight away. But before you do that, just go to your enemy settings and then add the monster as the last step. And you have to name it the same thing again. So it's monster 3 underscore Adam. And if everything went well, then when you go to import sprites, it should be there already. So it's looking good. It's just the idle frame that's missing, so you can add that manually wherever your creature was before adding it to the folder. So here's mine. There we go. There's the idle image. Then you can just add it so we can see it there in the preview. Accept. And then set your scale. And he's a little guy. I'll make it 0.3. Accept. Then just do all your settings. I like a 0.5 attack delay, so they attack quite fast. And then accept. And then just place your creature. I'm going to delete my other ones quick. And then just place your creature wherever. I'm going to put him in this room. Let's test it out. Grab your weapon. I've used FSM for the sword as well. That's why it's swaying back and forth like that. And the cool thing is you can add a primary attack, left click, and you can add a right click attack. So I have a slice and a poke. Slice, poke, slice, poke. Very effective. Now let's see if this worked. There we go, he saw me. Then he goes into the chase. And then he should go into attack. There we go. And then he whoa. It was a bit jittery there. And then he should have the hurt animation too. There it is. And then the death animation. There we go. So it seems like it all worked well. I just want to test it again. I want to see if the attack frame is accurate. It seems a bit early, so I'm going to push it forward a bit. So yeah, it's cool because you can just keep it minimized and edit as you go. So there's the attack. It looked a bit early, so I'm going to change it to 25 instead. So frame 25 will be attack then. Change that to 24. And then frame set 26 to 29. There we go. So I've just pushed the attack one frame forward. Let's see if that works. Save, and then you can test it again. I'm gonna still do FSM for this crossbow as well, and change the projectile size. I'm not happy with it. Let's see. Take this. There we go, that's better. Cool, so it's working. We have another creature. Well, I have another creature to add to my future game. Right now I'm just in the testing phases and making tutorials phases. Then here's some of my other creatures. I'll show you quick if you haven't seen my other video. Cool, so I've used FSM for all of these enemies too. This guy kind of has a sassy walk. He's kind of too big as well. Ah, this guy's fast. Then there's this little guy. And this guy has two, you'll see now, he has two attack animations. This guy's strung. And they're all using FSM. And then I worked on this skull last night. I learned how to do projectiles in FSM as well. and this last guy, which we did today, so you know this thing. Alright, and then I'll just show you quickly that skull, that floating skull. For this one, in his attack state, instead of attack, I just put projectile. This is the numbers explained. So for projectile, the first 0 is angle, the second 0 is absolute, meaning if it's going to follow you or not. Then the next 0 is height, and the next one is spread. So I've just kept it 0, 0. I've changed the height to make it higher, and left the rest as it is. And that's how you do projectiles with FSM. That's about all I've learned so far. I'm still very new to this, so I'm still learning as I go. But each time I learn something new, I'll make a tutorial about it. So cool. That is FSM for enemies. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll leave some links in the description to the wiki and another tutorial that I followed that I found really useful. And thanks for watching. Have an excellent day, dudes.